Megan, I think about Dollar Tree and all of these things in terms of being a little bit more brick and mortar. I'd have to assume a lot of people who go to these stores are looking to get things for maybe little parties and events, little novelty things. Well, if people aren't getting together, is that hurting the amount of shopping that's taking place at this kind of a store?
That's certainly one theory. Whenever we're listening for people who are talking about shopping with Dollar Tree, we could be listening for, or we are listening for Dollar Tree specifically and also Family Dollar. So I think Dollar Tree lends itself more to those novelty items like you talked about. They have some more, essential items, but as Jenny mentioned, wine glasses and things of that nature that you can get in for your house and crafty stuff. And Family Dollar, I think, is more similar to your traditional, Dollar General setup and in terms of what you're going to go in and buy. So they kind of have both under this overarching umbrella. And what we see is that in general, demand has waned since last quarter. I think last quarter, whenever we looked at things, Dollar Dollar Tree ended up reporting same store sales across the board up around 6 or 7%. And that's about what we saw. When we look at this current quarter, you can see that it fell off significantly from last quarter. It's down about 10% quarter over quarter and down about 11% year over year. You can see in the far right bar that 20Q4, the current quarter that we're in, we're about 3 weeks into that. It's starting to pick up a little bit. It's still down year over year. So the moral of our story is that traffic is definitely waning. So that's where that brick and mortar presence may have come into play. You've got less people going in the doors of Dollar Tree and going in the doors of Family Dollar. But what we don't know necessarily is what that average ticket size looked like. I think that was kind of a more positive point last time, even though people were going in the stores less, they were spending more. So it's unsure in our data whether or not that is continuing. But from a traffic perspective, from a consumer demand perspective, we definitely saw a weaker quarter out of Dollar Tree in Q3.
Yeah, see, Megan, I think your data is showing us exactly probably what Dollar Tree guided to last quarter
Yeah.
when they beat on earning on EPS, but probably guided softer, and you're seeing that in your data, Megan. So I think your data is spot on, and it's probably a big red flag for anyone looking at Dollar Tree. They may now it's just like last quarter, they guided softer. They could still guide stronger going forward, especially into the Christmas holidays. But at least as it pertains to your data, I think this is an indication of what they probably guided to, which made the stock sell off a quarter ago, guys.
Yeah, I think that you're exactly right. And especially whenever we're looking forward, we start to see a little bit of improvement going into the holiday season, but that's still pacing down significantly year over year. So, although we're only 3 weeks in, it's not like we're seeing this resounding, return to stores that they may have reason to be upbeat about. So I think that that's definitely something to be aware of, that this demand was softer this quarter that they're about to report. I'm not certain if the market is fully aware of that now. This Dollar Tree, as Jenny mentioned, this hasn't been this huge pandemic winter. We're not seeing it up significantly, year to date. We're actually seeing it off of its August highs. So I think the market expects a little bit of weakness here as they guided, but we're certainly not we're not seeing any, huge divergence play per se, especially not in a positive manner. We're seeing that demand weaken.
So Megan, if I can, you may not know this off the top of your head, so apology for putting you on the spot, but if you rewind to last quarter, was your data kind of suggesting that the guide could be a little bit soft? Were you starting to see the beginning of a weak quarter a quarter ago, and then ultimately we got it based off your data, and they kind of guided to that? Were you seeing that trend alongside it developing a quarter ago? And if so, for those who are maybe looking at Dollar Tree from an optimistic standpoint and saying, "Hey, Christmas holidays, all the holidays coming up for gift giving, this is a great store for that." Based off what you're seeing right now, maybe throwing a little bit of cold water on that.
Yeah, whenever you look at the specifically breaking down the different brands, so Dollar Tree and Family Dollar, I think last quarter, Family Dollar, we had purchase intent up about 12%, which I think that they reported same store sales up like 11.6%. We had Dollar General up around 6%, I believe, which was pretty in line with what they reported. Now we have Dollar General Dollar Tree for that specific branch, we have that down around 9% year over year. We have Family Dollar pacing down about 25%. So that's a huge swing, whereas last quarter you saw Family Dollar kind of help bolster that growth. And now we're definitely seeing that drop off. So I think that this is something where our data has been pretty in line with what they're reporting, and we're definitely showing some weakness. What's interesting is we see this similar weakness for Dollar Tree represented in Dollar General. So this is something that I think the industry is experiencing across the board. But to an extent, in Five Below, for example, we're seeing purchase intent actually start to rise. For Five Below, purchase intent is pacing up about 8% year over year. So there's a little bit of divergence in the Dollar Tree, Dollar General versus Five Below play, which I think is interesting. But definitely going into this quarter, predictively, this is some weakness.